Okay, hi everyone from 4S1. So as promised, here is the video regarding the answers for your question paper that I gave you all before I left. So I'm sorry because delay so long. So here is the video, you can watch it, then you can track back your answers. Okay, alright, now first question. Plane waves can be generated in a ripple tank. The plane wave pass through a wide gap, okay, and also a narrow gap. So here it shows here. So from the diagram, we can see that in 5.1, what is this? In 5.1, okay, we can see that it is less obvious diffraction. Okay, less obvious diffraction. Okay, 5.1 here. Here, 5.1, less obvious. 5.2, more obvious. So we can write that down. Okay, so this one is less obvious. This one is more obvious diffraction. Okay, and then we can also see from the diagram that the wavelength in diagram 5.1 is smaller compared to 5.2. So straight away you write down on the picture itself, diagram itself. Okay, and then we can also observe the size of the slit. So here is a large slit, okay, while here is a smaller slit. Okay, so this is the information that we can get from the question. Okay, so now we move on to question A. Name the wave phenomenon. So obviously this one, the answer is diffraction. Okay, because why? It passes through a slit, okay, a barrier, so diffraction. Based on your observation in diagram 5.1 and diagram 5.2, compare the wavelength. So here the answer, write complete wavelength in diagram 5.1. So is it larger or smaller than or equal? So you see here, diagram 5.1, your lambda is smaller, 你的 wavelength 比较小，所以呢这里你就写小过 wavelength in diagram 5.2. Okay, so here's your answer, less than. Okay, 第二 size of the gaps. So obviously 5.1, the size of gap is larger. Okay, so size of the gap in diagram 5.1 is larger than size of gap in diagram 5.2. Okay, 所以这个是你的答案。okay， 那么呢，如果关如标有提过的话，我希望你们跟着他的方法啦。Okay, so maybe if she said, teacher mentioned that you have to use letter or word, higher, lower, all those, then you use. But for me, I like to use the symbol so I can see the relation. Okay, so the wave pattern. How is the wave pattern? 5.1 less obvious, 5.2 more obvious. So your answer, wave pattern in diagram 5.1 is less obvious than wave pattern in diagram 5.2. Okay, so 这里呢我不可以用符号 I cannot use greater than, smaller than, so I have to use the word, which is here, less obvious. Okay, alright, so now relate the size of the gaps, the wave patterns and the wavelength to deduce a relevant physics concept. Okay, so you can see that we relate these three sentences. Wavelength in diagram 5.1 less than 5.2, so 5.1 wavelength smaller, and then the size of gap in 5.1 also larger, is larger. Okay, So what you can see is the wave pattern in 5.1 is less obvious. So here we can deduce the concept that wavelength too small, then it is difficult to diffract it. Size of gap too large, also difficult to be diffracted. So what can we write here? We can say that the curvature 就是说它的弯曲啊 the curvature of diffracted waves increases, means that 它比较弯 more obvious as the wavelength of the wave increases or the size of gap decreases. Okay, so 这里呢你可以看到 OK 第一个 the curvature will increase 两个条件，第一 wavelength 很长，第二你的空间很小，你的那个 gap 很小，所以它才可以 more obvious. So this is how you relate. Okay, look at the symbol. Okay, the symbol here is less than, here is more than, so here is less obvious. Okay, here less obvious. So what can you relate? 因为 5.1 wavelength 很小，所以它会 less obvious diffraction. 因为 5.1 size of gap 很大，所以也是 less obvious diffraction. Okay, so this is the theory behind the concept. Okay, now this one. Diagram 5.3 shows another set of water wave in the ripple tank. The glass plate is replaced with an obstacle which form a small gap at the center. On diagram 5.2, draw the water, sorry, I think it's 5.3. Okay, draw the water wave after passing through the gap. So first thing you need to check is the wavelength and the size of the slit. So if you take your ruler, 你拿你的 ruler 你去量，你会发现到这里呢，你的 wavelength 是 0.3 cm。如果你去量啊，agak量 ，OK。And then 你会发现到你的 gap 这里呢是 0.9 cm。Okay, so what does this tell you? It tells you that your lambda is smaller than size of slit. Therefore, your wave should be expected to be less obvious. 因为我讲过了嘛，你要有 more obvious 的那个diffraction， 你一定要 lambda 大过或者等于 size of slit。but 现在没有，现在你的 lambda 小过 size of slit， 所以会有 less obvious diffraction. Okay, now the problem is here. How do you draw it? Okay, you need to remember one thing. After diffraction, 什么东西改变？ After diffraction, only amplitude decreases, right? Because 它散发， so amplitude decreases. Okay, but others all same. So meaning that your lambda must remain same. Okay, so first step you do is you draw first one line. Okay, draw one line here. Then you draw the curvature. Okay, second thing you do is you draw another line which is longer, but you need to make sure that this one, the wavelength, is almost same to the initial wavelength. So 应该这样子吧 okay, agak-agak like this, or you okay, like this. You see the wavelength is almost the same shape, same size here, because we know that wavelength cannot change. So pull back here. Okay, so now draw back the bent part here. Okay, then another wave front which is also the same size, cannot change size. must be same size. So round here, I think. Okay, then you draw your bent wave. Okay, so this is your answer. Initially we got 3 wave, right? So after it diffracted, you also draw 3 wave is enough. Okay, what do you need to make sure is here, your lambda must be same 0.3 cm as well, because if more or less means that you did not follow the theory, because our theory is what? Our theory is lambda will not change. So if you change the lambda, therefore you are misconception. Okay, so here is the answer. Okay, last question. The frequency of the vibrator. Okay, so first step, what you do? List back all the information given. Okay, and then the wavelength given 0.5 cm. So calculate the speed. So first step, you write all the information given. Second step, you write formula. Okay, now we want to find speed, right? Speed. Okay, so V equal F lambda. F is 15 Hertz. Lambda is 0.5 cm, right? But we don't want cm, we put centi. 10 times power negative 2. Okay, then you get your answer 0.075 meter per second. Or you can also write 7.5 cm per second. But 7.5 cm per second, you need to show that you use 0.5 cm. Okay, then the third part is this one, final answer with unit. Okay, alright, so we look at the answer back. Okay, what is this phenomenon? So first step, you look at the question first, you see the differences. So we obviously 5.1 less obvious, 5.2 more obvious. And then why is that so? Because 5.1 larger slit compared to 5.2, and also the wavelength is smaller. So diffraction phenomenon, so you get 1 mark. Comparison, 1 mark, 1 mark. Okay, and then 1 mark also. Okay, so comparison, how do you see? You see the arrow, same arrow, directly proportionate, or their relation is same. Okay, directly proportionate. So this one also 1 mark. So here, how do you get 2 marks? 1 mark is your diagram, and then another mark is your wavelength. Okay, same or not? Okay, then here 1 mark substitution with formula, another mark final answer with unit. So you must have unit. Okay, alright, so that is for the diffraction topic. Right? Okay, if any question you can just ask me. Alright.